was wondering about unwholesomeness and wholesomeness, because it is said that our faults are caused by acting unwholesomely. So to overcome one's faults and that unwholesome behavior, we should become self-transparent or authentic in regards to one's intentions. But this is not so easy to do.
The transparency.
Transparency. You know, to be constantly watchful of your intentions while you go about your daily life is quite a difficulty.
Sure.
But is this the correct way?
Well,
how to do it?
the first point I would address would be, you mentioned it, the things are faults, or thing can be regarded as a fault if it's rooted in greed, aversion, or delusion. So that's basically a definition of a fault. So even if something is universally accepted, socially accepted to be done and normal, if it's rooted in greed, aversion, delusion, from the point of view of development in your mind, that is unwholesome. So that's where this self-transparency in regard to the motives behind you wanting to do things. That's why that self-transparency is necessary. It's necessary as a basis, and then actually it is necessary, or rather you don't have to look for anything other than that basis to develop your mind. In other words, the criteria that you will be using to develop the self-transparency is the criteria you can use all the way to the complete development of your mind, that transparency. So it is definitely something to be done, starting from your bodily actions, that you start developing watchfulness and mindfulness in regard to things you want to do with your body, and see where is that action rooted, or where would it be rooted? Why do I want to do this? So initially you might have to kind of do it excessively in terms of interrogating yourself, but once that attitude becomes established, you don't have to think about the questions, why am I doing this, or because of this. You just looking at it would be already a form of investigating the motivation, which means just by looking at it you would be seeing where it is rooted at. So if you want to do something with your body in terms of I want to go somewhere, or I want to eat something, or I want to be working or whatever, you have to ask yourself why. Why do I want to do this? Then you might say, well, because other people need my help. It's like, okay, so then go further. So why are you the one in the position of giving your help to others, and so on? Doesn't mean like you have to classify it as, oh, this is good or this is bad. All you want to do is just be fully transparent when it comes down to knowing why you're doing whatever you're doing. Because that's how you will start to sieve out many, many unwholesome things that people end up doing habitually because they never look at the reasons why they're doing them. So they just go with it. And then that ends up proliferating and getting worse and worse, and then people acquire all sorts of habits and unwholesome things, sensuality and ill will, just because they never really looked at it, never saw themselves doing it. You can put it that way.
So going to watch a movie, going to the cinema.
Okay, yeah, that's a kind of, it's a neutral example. There's nothing immoral about watching a movie. There is nothing even ethically wrong to go and watch a movie. But if you're somebody who wants to develop their mind in terms of complete freedom from suffering, or things of that pertain to the Dhamma practice, then yeah, like you can say, oh, everybody watches the movie, it's fine, and then pretend that that's it, that's all to it, and then go and watch a movie. Or you can ask, well, everybody is not me, and everybody is not practicing for me, so why am I going to do it? Why do I want to do it? And if you discover that the motive behind you is just a distraction, because it feels a bit too heavy being alone or something, and then you want to go out and watch a movie, then you realize, well, as I said, it's nothing immoral, but from the ultimate point of view of freedom of the mind, freedom of the mind from the senses, that is an obstacle, because you are giving into the distraction. You want to distract yourself. You want to engage in an attitude of delusion, of non-transparency, because it's a bit too boring to just be all the time mindful or something like that, and then you give into it. But if your focus, so like, you know, somebody might hear this and say, okay, so I'll never watch a movie again. No, that's not the point. The point is, you should never forget about the reasons why you do things. Then that principle, that attitude, will straighten things out in itself. Because if you're never transparent, if you're always transparent, means you can't delude yourself anymore, which means sooner or later you start feeling guilty for constantly distracting yourself. And if you don't compromise the attitude of transparency, then that guilt will be enough to keep you away from things effortlessly. So yes, initially you might need to restrain yourself and say no to things, but that in itself won't lead to any understanding of the nature of things. You developing self-transparency in regard to it, that might.